Amis téléspectateurs de Radio Télépixel, peu importe là où vous nous recevez, c'est un plaisir immense et énorme de vous rejoindre encore une fois cette fin de semaine pour notre 23e livraison de l'émission Facilité. Je vous le rappelle, l'émission Facilité, on vous parle de technologie, on vous parle de concepts et on discute de l'expérience de certains invités que l'on reçoit sur cette plateforme pour venir partager avec vous cette expérience et permettre aux étudiants qui nous écoutent d'un peu partout de savoir comment ça se passe sur le marché des TI ici à Montréal et comment est-ce qu'ils doivent s'orienter s'ils sont sur le point de prendre une décision par rapport à leur cycle d'études au cégep ou à l'université. Mon nom, c'est Clément Calvaire. Encore une fois, je vous l'ai dit, c'est un plaisir immense. 23e édition, ça avance. Merci à tous ceux-là qui n'ont raté aucune de nos présentations. Ça nous fait énormément de plaisir. Et le feedback est très positif et ça nous incite, ça nous donne beaucoup plus de motivation pour aller chercher pour vous des invités pour venir discuter avec vous. N'hésitez pas à nous contacter si vous auriez aimé que l'on aborde un sujet spécifique pour vous. Ça nous ferait encore une fois énormément de plaisir d'aller chercher pour vous ces ressources. Alors, la seule affaire, c'est de nous faire part de vos besoins, de nous faire part des sujets que vous auriez aimé justement que l'on aborde à travers ce canal qui est Facilité. Mon nom, c'est Clément Calvaire, l'émission Facilité. La plateforme, c'est Radio Télépixel. La façon de nous contacter par téléphone, c'est le 514-799-6087 et par courriel, c'est clément.calvaire@clémentcalvaire.com. Aujourd'hui, on a un invité spécial. On va vous parler développement, on va vous parler de programmation, si vous voulez. C'est quelqu'un qui a une expérience en développement de logiciels, front-end et back-end. C'est un full stack développeur. Il est certifié de Microsoft Solution Developer. Il est aussi certifié Azure DevOps. C'est un Scrum Master. Donc, c'est quelqu'un avec vraiment une expérience assez intéressante dans le monde de la programmation, dans le monde du développement de logiciels, surtout front-end et back-end. Son nom, c'est Alan Reyes. Alan, I am very, very happy to have you as a guest in my show Facility. Tell us about yourself. Can you
You're very welcome.
can you hear me, Alan?
Yes, I
Okay,
can hear you
perfect.
very well.
My first question for you, I'm asking you to tell me about yourself as an IT professional.
Yeah, so I've been hi everybody. My name's Alan for about 17 years now. So I started as a developer back in 2003, and when you start when you become what you do is you try to be a developer first. I wanted to be able to sell online. When I wanted to sell online, I I wasn't able to afford because I was just starting. I wasn't able to afford someone who would develop my site, put some things online. So I had to do it all myself, and that's how I learned. I was trying to solve a problem, and the solution was me learning programming. So I've been a developer 17 years. Right now, I'm based in Montreal, Canada. I'm an IT consultant. So what I do is my company sends me to different projects, sometimes 3 months, 6 months, sometimes a year, sometimes longer. And I would usually work with different clients. So most of the time, like recently, I've been working with the Canadian government for some projects. Sometimes I work with the private sector also. So what we do is, because my most recent experience really leading teams and also a little bit of programming and developing applications. So I've been leading different developers, building development teams, and my company is owned by partially owned by Microsoft. So a lot of the technologies we're implementing to our clients we're offering our clients are Microsoft based. So anything that's Microsoft Teams, anything that uses Microsoft Azure. So that's where my expertise is also. So I've been developing applications for them that go into the cloud, and it does a lot of things. One of them, like for example, processing insurance payments or facilitating communication between an uh, uh, airline company and the government. Uh, and yeah, that's pretty much
Okay,
sums up
perfect. That's a very,
what
very
I've been.
long introduction, Alan. So let's start from the beginning. So what do I mean by that? Can you try to define for us who is a developer? What is a developer as a person?
Yeah, a developer is someone solving problems and challenges. So that's what gets us really motivated. So actually, there's two very good characteristics, especially when I'm looking for developers also like myself. So one is you enjoy solving problems. So you like seeing something very complex and try to find a solution for it. Of course, through code. And second is someone who likes learning. So a developer doesn't stop learning as soon as he masters one technology. A developer would keep on learning different areas because it's rapidly evolving. Even myself, I can't catch up anymore with some of the thing is that you're even when there's new technologies like this, you can try to as much as you can to catch up to learn new things. So a developer, like in summary, would be someone who likes solving challenges, right, through code, writing code and building applications. And second is someone who enjoys learning and would strive to learn more and more uh, throughout his career,
Okay, perfect.
his or her career.
Okay, perfect. This is like every field in IT because you should learn every time, every year. You should upgrade your knowledge because everything's it's a bit new. New things are coming. You should learn that. Um, Another question for you, Alan. I always hear developer, programmer. What is the difference between a developer and a programmer?
So there's actually a very common contrast between what say who's a developer, who's a programmer. And one analogy I usually use is if you have like someone building your house, a programmer is the plumber. So he only looks at like the pipes and stuff like that. And a developer would be someone who's the uh, handyman has specialized in fixing pipes. So a plumber would be someone who's a programmer would be someone who's excuse me who's specialized in a specific language, and a developer doesn't have anything. He is specialized in some languages, but he would look at the problem as an overall with an overall solution. So he doesn't look at the problem uh, with a specific
Specificity.
technology that
Yeah.
he said. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. That's and then you doesn't need to be like a programmer can program in different languages. It doesn't mean to be. It doesn't need to be like only Java, only Python or whatever. So it could be multiple language, like fundamental programming. Okay,
That's
so
correct.
cool. I know you're a full stack developer, Alan. What does that mean, a full stack developer, and what is your main activity as a full stack developer?
So a full stack developer, it's actually a recent term that they've been using to describe someone who doesn't just work on the back end or the front end. So they found that some developers are recently, it was just maybe less than 10 years ago, they found that some developers are have a broader reach. They tend to look at different aspects of the application. So a full stack developer would have a good understanding of the front end, the back end, and what else, what the other parts of the application, like if it's data, connecting the data sources. So he would, whatever you throw at a full stack developer, he would be able to code it. As opposed to if you're focusing on a front end developer, you can't give him something uh, that's more of a database because that's something he hasn't mastered yet. Uh, so yeah, that would be
Okay.
yeah.
You try to get into my first question a bit with the answer you just gave us. I always read on the job offer they are looking for full stack developer, front end developer, back end developer. I mean, if you, I mean, what I mean is, can you able to do a difference between front end and back end developer for us? Just to be clear, what's the responsibility of the front end and
Yeah.
what is the responsibilities for the back end developer?
So the front end developer is everything. You just imagine that everything you see. So you go to a website, you go to your phone app. If it's something that you can see, you can interact with. A lot of times we say is the person who would best fit to develop this or to maintain it is a front end developer. Anything that has you will always hear that people who are front end developers, they're very visual
Hmm. Hmm.
because they want to see, they code something and they see right away what they've done. A backend developer, on the other hand, is someone who enjoys uh, 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 they don't really interact with the front end where in the UI. Someone who, if you, for example, if you submit a payment, if you buy something online, a backend developer would be taking care of the part of the application where this information gets passed to the bank or gets stored somewhere. So nothing really not exciting, but it's still exciting, but it's still something that it's happening in the background. You don't know that it's happening, but it's happening somewhere in the application where
Okay.
the information they sent is being stored or being processed.
So in clear, I can say if I want a short answer, I can say the front-end developer try to build the interface between the user and the application, the
Oh yeah,
face that
you
you
can
will
you can
see.
say that.
Okay, but another question: Can I mean a person can do both at the same time, front and back at the same time, right? We can do both. I can be a front-end
Yeah,
developer and a
and
back-end
that's
developer at the
where
same
you
time.
have the full stack developers.
Cool. Okay, perfect. So either we can have the specific one. So you are trying to work or you are responsible to work only on the front side, and the other you are only responsible to work on the back end database and all the other stuff,
Yeah.
connection between
Usually
database and
for a larger project, because full stack developers, are usually used if you have startups or smaller projects where, you don't need a huge team to work on something. But a front end developer, back end developer, those usually come into play when you have large, very very large projects where
okay,
you have a team of front end developers, a team of
get
back
it.
end developers, and and you have more room, let's say, in your budget or in your project where you can separate them. Usually, that's the case where you have front end and back end developers.
Get it, get it. So as a developer, front end or back end or just full stack, so there's a part of support as well. So if you develop something, if something is not working, at some point you have to troubleshoot before send it to the help desk or whatever
Yeah,
operation teams. That's
usually
mhm.
comes with or period. Yeah. So usually,
There is some disconnection, Alan. The connection is not. It's not. It's not well enough. I don't know if you can just retry or try say again what you just said. Hello.
warranty period. Can you hear me now,
Yeah.
Clemma?
Okay. Yeah, that's better now. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, can you
Yeah,
try to say again what?
yeah. It's breaking up a little on my side. So, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So there's a after you build and where you have about uh, thir- so 30 days, 6 months, a year, it depends on the project. Where anything that breaks, if they find bugs are actually like defects. Bugs are they would fix it. The people who developed it. After that period, it gets taken over by a team called operations. So operations, they have different terms for it. You have level 3 operations. You have in one of the projects I've been, it's called AO, and so what they did, or maintenance, what they usually do is anything after that to keep the application alive. Every time there's a transient error, there's something in the network, they're the ones who troubleshoot it. So there's another branch of another team who does that usually.
Okay, perfect.
Not Yeah. And
Okay,
then
cool.
what happens is the front end and back end developers who used to develop those apps move on to a different project, and uh, and gets handed over. So there's usually a handover after projects where what you've built you give it to operations so that they would maintain it.
Okay, perfect. In order to have different teams like the front end and back end, that depends of the size of the project. That depends of the size
Yes.
of the organization because that depends again. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is a question that I always receive from students. So before they get on the market, so it's not. It's in general the question I'm going to ask you. It's not specifically for you, but I know those information are available on the net as well. So can you tell us about the revenue, the income of a full stack developer in general? What's the range of the salary? Because sometimes students always ask me, I have an offer, but how can I? What should I ask as a salary? So yearly to for this job, it's a front end developer, it's a back end developer, it's a full stack developer. In general, just give me an idea.
So the amount usually, if you're, it really depends on the experience because
Mhm.
you have when you say full stack developer, there's still some levels to it. You have junior, intermediate, or senior,
Cool.
right? So someone who's fresh from college, let's say you just graduated from college,
Hmm.
you can get paid, and also based on the city. Here in Montreal,
Hmm.
they usually go between someone fresh from college will get maybe $45,000 a year. That's 45,000 to. I've seen people who's gotten paid like 60 up to $65,000 for fresh off from school.
Hmm.
The next level would be intermediate. So let's say you have 5 years of experience at least. You could get between 65 to $80,000. So I've seen that people who's got 5 years experience get as much as $80,000 per year for being a full stack developer. And if you're senior like me, you could get up to between 90,000 to about 130, $140,000 per year.
Okay, cool. So
So
that.
it really
Mhm.
depends on the experience that you have.
Okay, perfect. There's two aspects. That depends of your experience, and that
Yeah,
depends on where you base.
yeah,
Montreal could there's a difference between Montreal and Toronto
correct.
and other
And
provinces.
just an example, like Vancouver, I've
Hmm.
seen full stack developers. They can even get paid between, like a senior like me, between 140,000 to $220,000 a year. So it's a huge
Hmm.
difference between Montreal and
Hmm.
Vancouver. But in Vancouver, also the cost of living is very expensive. It's rent is very expensive, food
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
other things. So and also the market. So it depends on the year also when you're joining. So if you're joining where there's a very high demand and low supply for full stack developers, you usually can get a lot of you can usually negotiate a huge salary if the market is favorable.
Okay, perfect. So we are still in the pandemic period, so I know COVID-19 changed a lot of ways of the way we are working, the way we are thinking, and the way we are traveling. COVID-19 changed everything. So, for you as a full stack developer, tell me how COVID-19 changed your way to work.
So for me personally, I've been working from home for a long time because our projects usually is in different cities. So I'm based in
Mhm.
Montreal. My project is in Ottawa. I used to travel Monday to Friday. Monday to Thursday afternoon. I was in Ottawa, and I would usually travel back like Thursday evening back to Montreal. That ended, so I don't do those that traveling anymore. A lot of it I do remotely, but even after before the height of the pandemic, I was working from home. So the big change for me personally was I wasn't the only one at home now. So I have the kids, the wife at home. So there's a lot of noise distraction. So they used to go to school, but not anymore. So now they're home. Everyone's at home. So that's a huge change. Another thing is team collaboration. It's very efficient very effective when you have team where you're face-to-face interaction with them.
Mhm.
You can walk up to their desk and then you can sit with them and then you can code um, or work together very closely. That changed. So now with COVID-19, you have to find tools tools. One of them is Microsoft Teams that we use, where when instead of us sitting right beside each other, we do some screen shares, and I share my screen, you share my screen, and then we'll look at each other's codes. So now it's very remote, but we've lost a lot of that human interaction, and a lot of people miss it. Some people are comfortable with it, but I think it kind of dented a little our productivity. But it's all for good, right? Like it's better to be safe and healthy than than quick at work. So
Okay.
I think it had an
Okay.
effect, but it's manageable.
Perfect. As a consultant in IT domains, it's a bit easy for us to work remotely because we can produce measurable tasks. That can be, I mean, assess what we are produce. This is a good point as well. In that,
Yeah.
um, I on your profile, I see Alan. You have a lot of certification. You have like you're a Scrum Master as well. So you have been certified Scrum
Yes.
Master.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. I see you have Azure DevOps Engineer certification and then Microsoft Certified Solution Developer. Uh, Tell me about a bit about certification that exists for a full stack developer. So not in details, but just tell me why it is important to have those certification. Because at the beginning of that interview, you mentioned a point very important for person who are working in IT fields. You should be always up to date, still on learning. So I see your certification is year after year. Tell me what. Tell me about those certification in for a full stack developer a bit.
Yeah, so it depends on where you're working. So if you're working for a company where you're doing a specific thing, so if you're not a consultant and you're taking certifications, the main reason you would take those certifications is really learning. So to get deep into a technology. When you say that you know about DevOps, you know cloud, unless you do those certifications, there are different topics that for example, Kubernetes clusters. Um, Docker containers, those things. If you're not using it, you don't really study them. But if you take certification, you're really forced into looking at these topics. That's if you're not not a consultant. Your main reason would be learning. If you're in a consulting company like where I work, and if and a lot of times they would say, oh, you have to get your certification, and the reason is because when they try to present you as a developer to clients, they would say, oh, that's for example, Alan is perfect for this role in your company for this project because he has all these certifications. It's really to make you marketable to clients. Also, of course, to learn as a consultant, you'd learn, um, but that's the main one of the main reasons why consulting companies would push developers like me to get these certifications, so you're more marketable. And just a fun fact, like if you work from a company, they would usually pay for everything. They would pay your certification. If you want to take any certifications, they'll do that, and they would pay for your training. So if you tell your career advisor, for example, oh, I want to take DevOps, I want to take the architecture exam, they would pay for it. Uh, and aside from Microsoft, it's not just Microsoft who offers different types of certifications. So Microsoft has a few. They usually put like AZ-200 or AZ-220, AZ-203, 204. So those are the different codes of what exams you can take. Usually, if you want to get certified as a full stack, you could take maybe just two or three certifications, and you're good. So that's AZ-900, AZ-203, and maybe something else like DevOps or an IoT developer. So things like that, it will give you a good starting point when you certify. I know Amazon has them too, but different codes, of course, and different. You're now using technology that they offer. Google has them too. Um, some different, like the Scrum certification I got. It's not through Microsoft. It's also a different company. But these certifications are important, because um, when when you're working for a company, it makes you learn, If you're consulting, it makes you more marketable to clients. And finally, actually, if you're new, if you just graduated from school and you're trying to look for work, these certifications will make it more attractive for you to get uh, work easily. So there's always an advantage. I know some people say, "Oh, they're not very useful," but trust me, it like for me, getting those certifications have progressed my career. It gave my clients, my colleagues trust that I can do the job.
Definitely,
So they're very useful. Yeah,
definitely.
they're not very cheap, some of
Oh
them. So
yeah, yeah. You
it's yeah. So it's better you have the company pay for it. But when you do have them, it's very useful.
Okay, cool. There's a lot of platform of learning as well that exist. You can still go on those platforms just to get prepared for those exams. You'll have to pay for the
Yeah,
exam for the company who provide that exams, but for the exam for the preparation, there's a lot of platform online
yeah.
that provide some prep courses.
And I tell
Mm-hmm,
you my favorite. Like I can use a plural site. I do use Udemy,
mm-hmm,
UDEMY, and then I use LinkedIn Learning.
mm-hmm.
And then for preparing for exams, there's a company called Measure Up. Measure Up will give you practice exams, and although it's not 100% accurate, the questions that they have, it's
Sure,
close enough.
sure,
If
sure.
you pass the Measure exams, you can pretty much pass the actual exams.
Okay, cool. Last question, Alan, before we close that interview. Are you happy to be a full stack developer? That's the first question and the first part. And the second part of this question, what you will have, because a lot of students are following us, and then a lot of students will have to watch that video, that's presentation. I know some CEGEP, they use our presentation for their students to just to tell them this is how the market is. Okay, the second part of the question is what you will have to advise to the students who I mean who follow that show as advice to be a developer tomorrow. What will you suggest them to do to have
Yeah,
success?
yeah. So for the first question, yes, I'm very happy as being a full stack developer. So you shouldn't be in an industry or a role where you're not happy. So some of the people I've met, like front end developers, if you try to tell them, oh, you want to be a backend developer, look at database, they don't really enjoy it. So if that's you, who likes looking at UI or working on data and analytics, try to stick to something that you'll enjoy, because if not, you're not it's not you won't be as productive or as
Mhm. That will be
what do you call
impact
that,
on
as
your work or your
yeah,
day
that
to day,
will
what you are doing.
impact
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
If you don't like what you're doing, it's not good. For the second question that I have with advice for people who are starting is, when you finish school and you're ready to work, there's some people who might tell you, oh, you should take master's degree in this, or you should do doctor's degree on whatever in uh, some program. So unless if you want to, so when I look for developers, we don't look at like how many masters you have anymore. So it's a very obsolete system where you do a master's degree and then that will tell us like your experience, so your skill. What we are currently looking for are people who have experience, who start who've been involved in different projects. Because in summary, if you're debating when you graduate and you're debating whether, oh, should I do masters or should I start working, I would tell you, like, start as early as you can. Even you can do masters if you want, but try to get that experience early on. You can work on for free if you want, and try to get those years of experience, because that's going to help you. That real world experience is going to help you with your projects in the future,
Okay.
more than reading books. And you can those what you learn in school is only going to get you somewhere, but real world experience, problem solving, working on different projects, that's really going to help you in your success.
Perfect. That's very interesting. And then what I really appreciate in your intervention, Alan, you mentioned you should do something that you like. Don't go over something because of the money, because the salary is very high, but you should love what you are doing as activities. First
Oh,
thing.
correct. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I have friends who were offered more money, So it's never always about money. So someone, a friend of mine, a very good developer, he was offered more money to stop developing and start managing people. He's not gonna enjoy it. He hates managing people. So
Mhm,
he said no to it. Like, so it's never always about the money. So even if they offer you something, oh, you're
mhm,
gonna give you more if you become that backend developer. But your
mhm.
heart is telling you, no, I'm a front end developer. I like working on UI, developing apps for the mobile platform. That's what you do. It's never always about the money.
Perfect, perfect. It's about the well-being as well. Very important. Alan, I don't have words to thank you for your time today. I really, really appreciate our intervention in my show. Hopefully, we'll have to discuss again in the coming months to discuss about the market, how that's work, how the evolution are going in full stack development. So if I can say like this, so I really appreciate your time. Thank you again to be there with us to share your experience with my audience.
You're very welcome, Clema.
Thank you, Alan. So, notre invité aujourd'hui, c'était Alan Reyes. Il est un full stack développeur depuis 13 ans. C'est un senior consultant avec beaucoup de certifications dans le domaine du front-end, back-end, full stack development. Et puis, il est certifié à DevOps aussi, Azure DevOps Engineer. Il est un Scrum Master aussi. Scrum Master, c'est un terme qu'on aura à l'agilité, plus précisément, qu'on aura à débattre sur cette plateforme très bientôt avec un invité pour vous parler c'est quoi l'agilité. Mais avec Alan surtout, on a eu une discussion sur le marché par rapport à un développeur, c'est la différence entre un développeur et un programmeur, c'est quoi le range salarial pour un développeur senior, junior et puis débutant. Et aussi, on a parlé ça dépend aussi du marché, ça dépend de la position, de votre expérience, de où vous, là où vous êtes, de la région où vous vivez, où vous habitez, où vous travaillez. Donc, tous ces facteurs rentrent en ligne de compte quand il faut vraiment déterminer le salaire pour un développeur, un full stack développeur. Et puis, il vous a conseillé, vous, en tant qu'étudiant qui nous suivez présentement, de faire ce que vous aimez. Il n'est pas le seul à nous prodiguer ce conseil. Si vous faites quelque chose, assurez-vous que vous aimez ce que vous faites pour que vous puissiez avoir du succès dans les jours à venir dans ce domaine-là. Donc, ça a été une intervention assez enrichissante avec Alan. Alan, il est sur LinkedIn. Si vous voulez continuer cette conversation avec lui, ça lui fera énormément de plaisir. Son nom, c'est Alan Reyes. Allez sur LinkedIn et vous allez le voir, vous pouvez le suivre et vous pouvez partager et échanger avec lui sur son expérience et sur bien d'autres sujets qui vous est important. Mon nom, c'est Clément Calvert. L'émission, c'est Facil It. La plateforme, c'est Radio Télépixel. Le rendez-vous, c'est toutes les fins de semaine avec nous. Et le contact avec nous, c'est le 514-799-6087 pour le téléphone. Et par email, c'est clément.calvert@clémentcalvert.com. Je remercie tous ceux-là qui vont nous suivre. Et nous remercions aussi notre technicien, notre frère Tony, qui est toujours là avec nous pour la réalisation technique de cette émission. Je vous donne rendez-vous la semaine prochaine pour une autre livraison de Facil It. D'ici là, je vous souhaite une bonne semaine.